SLAINE. The horned whatever. This guy. In a time where there is no time, in a place which is not a place, I write of a once great king, SLAINE Macroth, who ruled an empire that was not an empire, in a past which is not the past or the future, but forever, because legends are eternal. And it is I who must tell it, for it is I who can. I, Ukko the dwarf, who was his friend and companion during the years of wandering the land of the young, and later became the royal parasite when he was elected king of his tribe. As I paint these words in magical oghams on wafers of bark, the memory of those days comes flooding back, of his laughter filling the round hall, of the clash of his mighty war axe, brain biter, of his hand smacking me round the back of the head. Days that can never return, for he is gone from us now. And I don't suppose it'll be too long before I join him, even though we who have drunk the fluids even though we who have drunk the fluids from the time worm's eggs could live forever if we chose. Here in the eternal fortress of the ever-living ones, high in the mountains of Snowdonia, invisible to humans, except to those of you who have the second sight, where dragons still pull the chariot of the earth goddess. Oh, dragons and shit. But before I too go on, I must complete my sagas, and there is still much to tell. Ah, yes, so much. Of his battle with Balor of the Evil Eye, and the Lord Weird Slough-Feg. Of his love for the Lady Neve, and his betrayal by the priestess and his most mysterious and epic quest, the search for the horned whatever. Yet before I describe the momentous and tragic events that were to befall the land of the young, I must ask you to be a little patient with your humble scrivener. For first, it is necessary to recall for you those incidents and characters that have appeared in my previous tales, which will have more than a passing relevance to the adventure I am about to relate. Such details will be particularly illuminating to those of you who may not have had occasion to peruse my earlier manuscripts. So, craving your indulgence, I shall remind you of how Tir-nan-og, the land of the young, was divided between the free tribes of the north, who worshipped Danu the earth goddess and Lug the sun god, and the southern tribes ruled by the Droon lords, who venerated Karnun the horned god and the bloody maggot Crom-Cratch. Crom was a monstrous time worm, invisible to humans, controlled by the dark gods of Sithrall, who feed on the life force of mortals. The Droons offered him human sacrifices in giant wicker man. Wicker men? It says wicker man. Wicker mans. You get it. Oh, sacrifices and shit going on. The supreme Droon was the Lord Weird Slough-Feg. I'm not doing voices, you'll have to. Oh, Crom-Crouch, great worm, welcome on this Samhain's Eve, the night when the dead have their holiday. We offer you these thieves, bandits, and dregs of the earth, who, by their crimes, have shown they are most eager to join you. We know it's their suffering which pleases you most. SLAINE was a member of the northern tribe of the Sisser, but had been exiled for making love to the king's chosen one, Neve. Just 16 years old, he wandered south and had been fortunate enough to meet me. If I ever get out of here, I'm going to kill you. He should be... I can't do an Irish accent. I think Celts were Irish, so I might do him Scottish, just to tell to SLAINE's... If I ever get out of here, I'm gonna kill you. I had accidentally alerted the Droons we were here to rescue the Drooness Medb from becoming the bride of Crom. SLAINE broke out and dragged her from the head of the Wicker Man. Saved her life and shit. But the flames from the bonfire brought on his warp spasm, a mystical battle frenzy where he could warp the power of the earth through his body. Unfortunately, Medb had been so drugged and conditioned by the Drunes she had wanted to be a sacrifice. No, she had wanted to be sacrificed to Crom and vowed revenge on SLAINE for preventing her becoming a goddess. Ah, yes, SLAINE was always in trouble with the ladies. Soon after he became involved with another priestess, Nest. This time, though, he was on our side. No, she was on our side. That's handy, isn't it? We worked as labourers on her dragon farm, where the young reptiles were bred for their diamond skulls and jewelled eyes. The little dragons eating all the flesh and whatnot. Delicious. Before flying on to Dinas Emrys, the eternal fortress, on the Knucker, her great stud dragon. There, new adventures awaited, leading to the three of us entering other dimensions and facing the dark gods themselves. Afterwards, Nest stayed on at Dinas Emrys to study high magic, while SLAINE and I returned to his tribe, his long years of exile over at last. On the way, he met his old love again. Neve! SLAINE? Ah, Neve. I only know how to pronounce that Irish name, all the others I don't know. Not for nothing did her name mean heaven. She was a jewel beyond price, a perfect height, not too tall, with lips like red cherries, skin white as... In Ukko's original Ogg manuscript, there then follows a rather personal description of Neve, dwelling at unnecessary length on her physical characteristics. This has then been crossed through by another neater hand, but is still readable. The identity of this censor becomes clear as Ukko's saga continues. Nasty, dirty little Ukko. SLAINE's reunion with Neve was not a happy one, for he learnt they now had a son, Kai, who she was taking to the Druid seminary at Durrington. My son, a Druid! Och, he should be a mighty warrior of the Earth Goddess. So he can follow in his father's footsteps and end up a criminal, a drifter, and a trickster? Or were you thinking of your father, Wrath Bellyshaker, a fat, boastful drunkard? My father is dead. So is Kai's. Ooh, she's just basically said SLAINE's dead to her and her son. Goodbye, SLAINE. Oh, little Kai. Meanwhile, in Mirius, capital of SLAINE's tribe, King Rogal, SLAINE's foster brother, has surrendered to the Fomorians. The offspring of Chaos and Old Night, these sea devils were also the allies of the Drune lords. Rogal was under the influence of his wife Megrim. It was thanks to her that the Cessair were enslaved. You'll do what I want, Rogal. You can't help yourself. In reality, she was Medb, who had changed her appearance and been sent north by Slaufeg to cause trouble amongst the northern tribes. Ashamed of what he'd done, Rogal decided to go into the earth before his 7-year rule was complete, and was ritually killed by Cathbad, the tribe's chief druid. I return to thy womb, O Danu. For a Sun King, husband of the Earth Goddess, may only rule for 7 years, after which he must merge with her in death. Hello, Ukko. How's the latest saga going? Oh, it's not bad, Nest. Not bad. You haven't been writing any more of your grubby little fantasies about Neve. Not much point if you're going to keep crossing them out. Is this all you've done since? Just these pages? Well, we writers have to be in a creative mood, you see. And you've completely missed out the Cauldron of Blood, how it was given to SLAINE by the ever-living ones. Oh, do I have to go into that? You most certainly do. The cauldron is central to the plot. It's the legendary cauldron of plenty, inspiration, and regeneration. Not to mention it being the entrance to the other world. Well, look, I'm an old dwarf now, dear. I can't keep all these facts in my head. I get so tired. You weren't so tired the other night, according to the complaints made by the sacred maidens of the eternal flame. Neither is there any mention here of Avagdu, diseased son of the earth goddess, who lived inside the cauldron. No more mead until you've covered all the points I've mentioned. Couldn't you just beat me instead? I think I'd prefer that. Yes, right. Well, very quickly then. SLAINE was given a magical cauldron for outwitting the dark gods. Then on the way to his tribe, Avagdu jumped out of it, and SLAINE had a fight with him. Then Avagdu jumped back into the cauldron. Then SLAINE reached Murius, where he gave his starving tribe food from the cauldron. Then he had a warp spasm, killed some Fomorians, and was elected king in Regal's place. Can I have that mead now? Question mark. SLAINE had become king at a time of great peril for the tribes of the earth goddess. At Karnak to the south, the Lord Weirdslaufeg ordered long avenues of Weirdstones to be erected that sent power seething through magical ley lines, dragging down a great sheet of ice over the land of the young, and with glaciers came the Drune's Fomorian allies in great towers of glass, led by Balor of the Evil Eye, whose hideous gaze burned all who came before it. I assume this is that guy Balor. Whoa, he looks bad, doesn't he? Whoa, he's a wrong 'un. God, don't cross him, you'll get all chopped up, your head on a on a spike and shit. But, invigorated by the food from the magical cauldron, SLAINE's tribe found new hope and fought off the sea devils, some even charging into battle sky-clad, I think that means naked, so they could draw on the magical power of the goddess Danu, who watched above the battle in her three aspects of maiden, woman, and hag. In her three aspects of maiden, woman, and hag. Blodved, lady of the flowers, Morrigu, crow of war, and Serduen, mother of death. The three. They're little sky-clad, nude fellas with their wangs out, barking evil, nasty dogs and shit. SLAINE with his axe, and he's gonna... The thought of the earth, his wife, being defiled by the monsters from the deep brought on SLAINE's warp spasm, turning him into a raging beast. Completely berserk, he rushed forwards into the ranks of the enemy, mowing down great swaths of them with his axe Brainbiter. He did not slacken his onslaught until he had killed 470 formers. He didn't think it too many. In fact, he didn't think it enough, for so vast were the Fomorians' numbers, one tribe alone could not destroy them. It would be necessary for the Cessair to form an alliance with the other tribes of the Earth Goddess. But SLAINE's proposal met with fierce opposition from within his tribe, for above all Celts value freedom and despise and fear empires, regarding them as a barbaric and uncivilized notion that will inevitably lead to dictatorship and misery. Resplendent in tribal tartan and wearing a gleaming new silver hero harness, SLAINE discussed the question of an alliance with Cathbad, his druid. Oh God, here we go. It is true we have the cauldron of blood with us, power to feed us, inspire us, and regenerate the dead. But we need the treasures of the other tribes as well, if we are to destroy the formers. Ingorius is the silver sword of the moon that can cut through any metal. In Phineas, the flaming spear of the sun that is alive and thirsty for slaughter. And in Phalius, the holy stone of destiny that cries aloud when the rightful High King stands upon it. And naturally you're hoping it'll be you, sire. I see no shame in admitting I have ambitions. Sire, they are forbidden weapons from Atlantis. Such weapons caused a terrible war in that once great land, resulting in it sinking beneath the waves. Would you risk Tarnan Og sharing its fate? With magical weapons like the spear and the sword, I could put an end to war. Oh, how many rulers have thought wonder weapons were the answer to all their problems, and how often did they lead to their end? We don't have any alternative.
prayer is the alternative, my boy. We must pray to the Trinity of Hugh the Mighty, Lug the Sun God, and Danu the Earth Goddess for deliverance. Put your faith in them, and you will be rewarded, if not in this world, in the next.
What about people suffering now?
Suffering is good for them, you know. When human beings are in adversity, that's when their good qualities really come out.
But my task is to make my people happy, to bring the sun back into their lives, to lighten their darkness, make their crops grow and their cows give milk, to free them from fear. Don't you remember my coronation oath?
That's all very well, sire, but we must look beyond this life to the higher realms, and they cannot be obtained without seeing and knowing everything, and unfortunately, it is not possible to see and know everything without suffering everything.
Do you know, you're beginning to sound like a Troon Lord.
It's true there is a certain similarity between our beliefs. For once we were one with religion, but the Droons twisted our doctrines, preaching strife and slaughter as the quickest way of ending the suffering on this world and rising to higher realms.
Whereas you just want to prolong it.
I shall overlook your impertinence this once, sire, for you're a young and inexperienced king with 7 years ahead of you before you go into the earth, provided you obey your druid.
Don't you patronise me, old man. I want those weapons.
You dare defy your druid, boy. I am the highest authority in the land, above even the king.
But there is one above even you, Cathbad, the goddess herself. I shall consult her on this matter, and by entering the cauldron of blood. I was not present during the argument, although I had heard about it later, on account of some overindulging at the victory feast, which resulted, if I may be so indelicate, in my spending a considerable time in the tribal latrines, where I happened to be as Megrim passed by. He was shitting and puking from all of the drinking he was doing.
Dwarf, come here.
Yes, my lady. I must visit the Lord Weird, go to the forest rendezvous and prepare my bowls and herbs. I will join you there shortly. Very good, my lady. Step, 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 step. Hey up, what's going on? Ukko sees this dwarf going off into the streets. He turns around, but Ukko's gone. He turns around again and leaves, and Ukko follows. You get it. Meanwhile, SLAINE was ready to enter the cauldron.
Sire, perhaps I spoke harshly earlier.
I know you were only trying to help me, Cathbad.
But sire, there is more I would not even dare speak of if you had not forced my hand. Should you succeed in obtaining the 4 treasures of the goddess, you will restore the power of the Horned God. Carnoon, Lord of the Beasts, the god of our enemies.
The god on whom the Lord Weird Slough Fig had modelled himself.
Aye, his cult dates back to the ancient times when Fig first emerged from his cave of beasts, to a dark age when witches ruled the earth.
I knew nothing of such an age.
Because some matters are best kept secret. You see, these witches were a disgrace to their sex, given up to licentiousness and debauchery. If the Horned God ever returns, he will usher in a new age of witchcraft, devil worship, and unspeakable practices. I shall just have to see what the Earth Goddess has to say about the Horned God, Cathbad. I really don't think that's a good idea, sire.
Why not? It couldn't be you druids have been twisting religion as well as the Droons.
Of course not, sire. The very idea.
As SLAINE descended into the cauldron, he noticed He noticed the figure on the inside was Carnan, surrounded by his animals, the horned god carved into the cauldron. But despite Cathbad's grim warnings, the sight of the Lord of the Beasts didn't fill him with dread and foreboding. Rather, it reassured him, for Carnan held in one hand the earth serpent, a symbol of the goddess herself. And the god's non-threatening pose confirmed his own instinctive feeling that just because Carnan was worshipped by his enemies didn't mean he was necessarily evil. In fact, he was curious to know more, in fact, about him and his mysterious connection with the treasures of Danu he needed so desperately. Hardly had these thoughts bubbled into his consciousness when he heard a female voice inside his head calling him, "SLAINE." And his heart leapt, and a shiver of fear and excitement ran down his spine, for he knew it was the goddess herself. "You have taken the first steps in seeking my advice, in questioning the world you live in and its values, not accepting them with blind faith. In your adventures you have often stood on the edge of the sea of awareness, but were too afraid to enter. Now it is time. Come. Receive the hidden knowledge that has many names, but you call the Cauldron of Wisdom, or Grail, the knowledge men seek far and wide, but is inside them all the time, submerged deep within their consciousness. Oh, swimming. Race memories of a bygone era when 200,000 years men worshipped a goddess and there were no gods. An era when women looked after the earth. An era men have conveniently chosen to forget or deny, yet secretly yearn to return to, even though they dread it. Yearn because it is a return to the mother of the pleasures and comfort of the womb, to the cauldron of plenty that feeds all who come before it. Dread because it is also a return to the black, bottomless pit of the unknown from which they sprang, when they were powerless, alone and afraid. But first they must defeat the sea demons who dwell there, materializations of their fears of returning to the lost era of women. To defeat them, you have to accept this knowledge and be prepared to reject the male path of power and domination over women. Only when you have overcome your mental demons will you be ready for what lies beyond. Gotta fight off the patriarchy and shit. Demons, patriarchy, it's all intertwined and combined. Oh, fight the demons, SLAINE. Fight the underwater demons. Oh, fuck, fight them. Oh. Seas fighting off the underwater SLAINE didn't find the idea of women originally being in control as difficult to accept as many men would. Consequently, his demons weren't impossible to overcome. For he had been trained by women at their military school at Alba, and they'd told him how witches had always taught the great Celtic heroes their martial arts. So such an age made sense. And although he was a sun king, husband of the earth goddess, he'd always seen himself purely as her consort, never as her master. Nevertheless, he had developed a taste for power, and his motives for wanting to be High King were not altogether selfless. There was the prospect of being remembered for all time as a mighty and immortal king, so his demon of ambition was enormous and particularly foul. Demon of ambition. And it was some time before he very reluctantly finished it, and was ready for what lay beyond. Goddess! So why are you here, mortal? Why have you visited me in my secret cave?
To seek your permission to go in search of your treasures.
Oh boy. To go in search of your treasures? Well, at least he asked. That's more than some. They'll just try and grab them. Are they ready to pay the price? And are you ready to pay the price? Rather, my apologies. Yes, will you pay the price? Got all her nymph friends mocking him.
I thought I'd shown you I was. I thought I'd shown you I was.
You are prepared to follow the way of the horned god?
I suppose so, although I'm not sure what the horned god is, so... It depends.
It depends. Don't take any notice of the nymphs. That's a good answer, mortal. Usually sun kings know the answer to everything. Because they're full of bull dung.
So how is the horned god different?
Come with me and I'll show you. And more besides. Ooh, winkety wink, SLAINE. Get some from the fucking goddess. That goddess. Carnan, as you Celts call him, is the god of nature, of fertility, the first of my gods, the only one who never betrayed me. Which is probably why some call him the devil. He sees the ridiculousness of life. He never takes its pressures too seriously. He sees the laugh of it all. He sees the game for what it is. He is the laughter in the woods. Look at that fucking silly thing. As the laughter in the woods. What the fuck is this? Whereas the sun god is so serious, is obsessed with authority, with conquering everything. Those heroes who follow his path are usually mindless and violent. Oh, you must have seen them. They look so grim, so bitter. They never smile, just go around glaring all the time.
Maybe because they're full of dung.
I like your learning. I think you're learning. I like your learned thinking. I think you're learning.
And what do your treasures have to do with the horned god?
The horned god is not afraid to show weakness, seeks peace rather than war, cooperation rather than strife, and couldn't give a damn about power.
So I can trust him with them.
Nope, so I can trust him with them. I don't know who's speaking there. The lady, probably. So I can trust him with them. There you go. I mean, could you imagine a sun hero with such weapons, eh? Imagine a sun hero with a fiery spear that screams for blood and is never tired of slaughter. Or a sword that can cut through any metal. Think of a sun hero with that stone that made him High King of all the tribes. He'd kill and maim and destroy everything that moved. He'd become corrupted by the power, ruining and polluting the earth, turning my body into sour land.
Yet I am your Sun King.
Yes, and to be honest, I'm not altogether sure about you. You've certainly done your share of mindless violence.
This is true.
Oh, the drawings there, aren't they fucking good? Still, you did leave your tribe when you were 16 and still very immature, and meeting up with that awful dwarf was probably the worst thing that could have happened to you. Note, in the original Ogham manuscript, the writing is much neater here, and there are none of the usual crossings out and stains. This would suggest this chapter has actually been written by Nest rather than Ukko. Elsewhere in the saga, also, there are indications she may have rewritten Ukko's sometimes coarse version of events, or told him what to write. Cheeky little Ukko.
I think you're being rather hard on the sun heroes after all. I think you're being rather hard on sun heroes. After all, we are your earthly husbands, and our tribes are named after you. Bulldang! Your druids pay me lip service. They put me on a pedestal where I'm out of the way and no longer a threat, then try to control me by putting male gods over me. Only the horned god is still subordinate to me. He understands his position. He is the male representative of life, my arm, but he is not afraid of death, of losing control, because he knows it's only a return to me. He knows it's all a game, my sport, because that's how nature is. He is the joy of life, the laughter in the woods. The lord of my beasts, who knows the true delights of paradise, are found in my arms. I think they're having sex here, and all the animals are watching them. See, she's literally giving him her fruit, and he's taking it and taking a bite. And they're having a fuck in the woods. And my enemy, the Lord Word. Slaufeg is the old horned god. For in love man makes temporary return to the goddess. There you go.
So he's making a temporary return to the god. I missed out that bit. Slaufeg is the old horned god. His time is long past. You see, the horned god is also the god of the underworld. He oversees the return of the living to the eternal womb. He sees the ridiculousness of taking the wheel of life seriously. The humour of death is his. Unfortunately, Feg took the joke too far and wrote sorrow on the earth. But I shall have the last laugh on the Lord Weird. Just you wait and see. Become the new horned god, SLAINE. Be the spear in my cauldron. Ooh, I think he just was. The hand on my moon sword. The rock on which my queendom can be rebuilt. And you will save your people and taste again the fruits of my garden. Ooh, he probably enjoys that taste. And if I fail, then I will destroy all you hold most dear. The land of the young will sink beneath the sea, the maternal waters, returning to the maternal waters where all life begins and ends. Wait, splish, splash, splosh. When will I see you again? Sooner than you think, for all mortal women, all mortal women are made in my image. I can be your mother, your lover, or your sister, and I alternate, sometimes humorously, sometimes treacherously. And you'll never know in which guise you will meet me again. Sometimes I am your mother and hold you. Sometimes I am your sister and befriend you. And other times your lover who will stick one in your back. Like he stuck one in her back. Pondering on what he had learned, SLAINE reascended into... Sorry, I don't know whose voice to switch to. SLAINE reascended into the land of the living. The revelation that the horned god was not a devil, as Cathbad had claimed, had not come as any great surprise to him. Perhaps because as a youth he'd left his tribe and its narrow religious teachings and wandered amongst the southern tribes where Khanun was worshipped. And seen for himself that he was a god of laughter and dancing and fertility, hardly a demon, unless you happen to disapprove of making merry. Nor had he felt threatened by the goddess and her inexhaustible cauldron. It's all talking about her vagina. The knowledge that no matter how fiercely or passionately he loved her, there would be a distance between them that would make him hungry. An emptiness he could never fill, somehow never. Nor had he felt threatened by the goddess and her inexhaustible cauldron. The knowledge that no matter how fiercely or passionately he loved her, there would be a distance between them that would make him hungry. An emptiness he could never somehow fill. That no matter how bright his plumage, how spiky his hair, how powerful and handsome he was, she could still swallow him. The goddess, not her gods, was in control. This was the great secret heroes sought on their quests. But it was no occult truth, jealously guarded by some elite order of high priests. Everyone knew it all along. They'd just forgotten it. And this knowledge made him free. Sire, you have returned to us. Praise Lug. Praise Dan you too, Cathbad. But of course, sire, praise Dan you indeed. Have you spoken with her? Aye, Cathbad. What she had to say was very revealing. She told me all about the horned god. She did! Meanwhile, your humble scrivener had followed Megrim's dwarf Robin to a secret spot in the forest where he was joined by his mistress. I watched as she heated up strange concoctions in 7 bowls made from yew, walnut, hazel, apple, alder, willow and beech, inhaling their combined vapours. And then passing out, and then he takes her on a boat somewhere else. As Megrim floated through the mists of time and space, she dreamily recalled her past when she was known as Medb. I don't know if that has an actual pronunciation. How, as a child, she was taken from her village by the skull swords to be offered up to the Lord Weirdslough Feg in his cave of beasts deep within the earth. Ukko did not follow Megrim, but probably with help from Nest, he speculates on what she was thinking and her destination based on his knowledge of the final outcome of events. That's fair. That explains why there's no fucking words in this bit, doesn't it? But while the other victims had sobbed and trembled in the presence of the Lord Weird, she had never cried out when it was her turn. And so he had spared her life, making her a priestess of his death cult, whose chief deity was Cromquatch, the maggot god, teaching her that because life on this earth is full of misery and sorrow, we must thank Crom for the gifts of war, disease, and disaster that will put an end to it. In fact, he hadn't needed to teach her anything, merely give shape and form to her own thoughts and fantasies, for as long as she could remember she'd been fascinated by the destructive side of nature. The sudden fury of a winter blizzard, killing crops and cattle overnight. The savagery of the ocean, smashing helpless ships against the rocks. Death was far more exciting than life. The dark side of the goddess, uninhibited, wild, howling at the moon, and all-devouring, was in her. But she saw no contradiction in being against the tribes of the Earth Goddess, for their view of nature was as a gigantic Earth Mother producing children to the order of her husband, the Sun God, or an innocent, empty-headed, pretty maiden, placid and submissive. Not that way for Medb! Nature itself, after all, was contradictory, constantly changing, one day blooming with life, the next dark and sinister. So she'd had no difficulty in reconciling herself to becoming the bride of the great worm. She, the goddess, the quickener, bearing the seed of death in a ceremony that was a grotesque inversion of life. But she'd been cheated of that honour thanks to SLAINE, and now, after all this time, she'd met up with him again, and once more he'd interfered, preventing her being elected queen of the Cessair after her husband had killed himself. Worse, SLAINE's plan to unite the tribes of the Earth Goddess could ruin Slough-Feg's carefully laid plans for the destruction of the land of the young. She must report to her lord. And that's her travelling there, one presumes. Medb scanned the cave of beasts for him, her eye taking in the single painting of him amongst the hundreds of animals beautifully engraved on the wall. A self-portrait of him when he was young and virile and danced with his coven and lost... A self-portrait of him when he was young and virile and danced with his coven in the lost age of witches. My lord? My lord? My lord? ? Like SLAINE, he was meant to rule for just 7 years, but had kept putting off the moment of his death. For 20,000 years! Jesus Christ. Keeping himself alive by feeding on the great worm's eggs. Medb could hear him now, gibbering to himself in the dark. My lord. But it was his smell, his mystic aura, that drew her to the spot where she found. Working entirely in the dark on another of his masterpieces, dribbling, stinking, utterly insane, the Lord Weirdslough Feg, the old horned god. That's describing me! Stinking and dribbling in the dark. Despite his insanity, or perhaps because of it, Feg was a brilliant artist. Like me, with owl-like eyes piercing the darkness, he commemorated the joy of the hunt in his magical drawings, believing an animal spirit is not offended by being killed for food. Believing an animal spirit is not offended by being killed for food, provided it is paid tribute. Over the centuries, he developed this belief into a death cult to justify the slaughter of humans, who were killed in deliberately instigated wars to provide food for the dark gods he worshipped. Working away. To these monsters from Sithral, or Hell, humans were just another species of animal. and wars arranged at suitable intervals to allow new generations to grow and ripen were the most convenient way to harvest the crop. Their life essence sucked back to Sithrall through the great worm, a crumb crouch. But regarding himself as lord of the animals, Feg postponed his own end indefinitely and paid a terrible price, rotting and insane, impotent to the soul land he ruled over. And so he hankered after his past, after his youth 20,000 years ago. And when he was strong and virile and had led the witches of his coven in the sacred fertility dance, leaping and prancing to the music of his skull cither and the women's bone pipes. Skull cither and the women's bone pipes. Dancing round and round in circle widdershins. Oh, dancing round and round in circle widdershins against the sun. The women chasing after him, whooping and screaming and howling, grabbing for his tail, acting like the beasts on the wall, transcending their humanity, tapping into their universal animalness, feasting, drinking, making merry, with much gaiety and laughter and love, in honour of the great goddess, before he deserted her. Dancing and dancing. My lord weird. Now he no longer had any zest for love, for life, and he blamed the goddess for it, hated her for it, hated anything to do with life, took pleasure only in death. Here, this will revive you. Drink from the fucking thing. Reverting to the curious syntax of his youth, he spoke of his past in sinister yet bird-like tones, almost singing the words. In splendid order we danced, Meb, revelling in wine from the horn. Not scanty was the feast, highly congenial to me were those days. I wish I'd been a young witch then, and danced with you in this sacred place, before you grew old. But now all I wish for is the promise. But now all I wish for is the repose of death, the womb of which is filled with deep interest for me. It allures me, it plays upon my strong desires, even though I must remain here to show others the way. Oh, my dear lord, if only everyone understood you like I do, they wouldn't fight you so. Yes, it is woeful they do not come to seek the great wisdom which is treasured in my bosom. I should be honoured and little wonder. I am not What? This is written strangely. I should be honoured and a little wonder. I should be honoured and little wonder. I am not a confused bard drivelling. I am not a shallow artist. I am the doorman at the gate of death. And if only they realised how selflessly you deprived yourself of the oblivion you crave. From spitting everywhere, just to guide others through that gate. I will ask for blood in order to lessen the loss. And you shall have it, my dear, provided SLAINE does not succeed in uniting the tribes of the Earth Goddess against you. Energetic is SLAINE, a man of conflict, usually with an axe in his hand. And a magic spear and sword also I fear, unless I can stop him. Should he obtain the treasures of his goddess, he may yet halt your great work of destruction. When the ice caps melt and the armies of Balor the Evil Eye sweep south, meeting your armies marching north, crushing the tribes of Danu between them. And the land of the young is swept away with the flood in a baptism of death. Then it was sensible to cause the gushing of his blood. Oh, it will gush, but first his plan for a tribal confederation must be discredited, so no one can take his place. Perfect art thou for such work, Midb. Disgrace to thee should you fail. It still won't be easy. So far I've been unable to put glamour on him. I suspect he still dreams of Neve, even though she's left his tribe. But I shall think of a way for him to find heaven in my arms. Then ruddy-tinted carnage will be his lot. It will, my lord. Good. For eyes without life, sundered heads, piles of carcasses, these are pleasing words to me. Death.
These are the sort of things I enjoy speaking of.
Then I can tell you Slain will die slowly. Just as an infant who does not wish to leave his mother's womb struggles and howls as he enters the world, so Slain will struggle and howl as he leaves it. His will be a difficult death, for I shall be acting as midwife. And so Medba returned to Mirius to plot Slain's downfall, although I had no idea she'd consulted with the Lord Weird on her true identity. I realised she was up to no good. Ukko? So I tried to alert Slain, but he was too busy making... Oh, son, it's no use. I can't go on. I've never seen you like this. Ukko, what's wrong? Ukko, please tell me what's upsetting you. Leave me alone! So I tried to alert Slain about Medb, but he was too busy making plans for the arrival of King Rudridge and his wife, who were coming to Mirius to discuss a union between their tribes, for Rudridge was the holder of the silver sword of the moon. I was wrong about you, Ukko. I never knew you cared about the terrible events that befell Tur-Anan Og. I'm right, aren't I? That is what's upsetting you. Not exactly. It's the thought of someday some skrunk's going to make money out of this saga and it won't be me! You know what the ever-loving ones pay me to record Slain's deeds, huh? 2 iron bars a chapter! You want to... I can't scream, it's late at night. You want to try living on 2 iron bars? Iron bars were Celtic currency. Throughout Ukko's saga, there are snide comments in the margins about not receiving enough for his work. As far as his comments about future exploitation of his work are concerned, it should be pointed out that the cost of deciphering, translating and adapting his original manuscript is considerable, and his stories are being published purely for their legendary value rather than for reasons of profit. You're so purse-proud, Ukko. It's a great honour to be asked to write a saga like this. It's really worth doing for nothing. Huh? An ever-living one burst in. What is it? I think he's had some sort of seizure. Mead! Mead! Get his tankard, quickly! What happened, Ukko? Never mention the word nothing to a dwarf, dear. We're very sensitive to bad language. I'm an old dwarf, you see, and I don't think my heart could stand the strain. Now, where was I? Ah, yes. The impending arrival of King Rudridge. So Slain ordered a great banquet in his honour. Well, to butter him up, really. All right, to bribe him into parting with the sword. But Cathbad was still opposing Slain's plans.
This banquet worries me, sire. It can only lead to trouble.
Rudridge is a boy king, barely 16, 16, teen. Rudridge is a boy king, barely 16, 16.
Jesus Christ.
Rudridge is a boy king, barely 16. I'm not expecting any trouble, Cathbad.
I mean, if you succeed in obtaining the forbidden weapons, it'll lead to the return of the bad old days.
Of feasting, cavorting and revelry, I think I could live with that.
Life's far too serious for cavorting, sire. In those days when women ruled the earth, they indulged in strange and unnatural practices. All the women in a tribe were a child's mother, but there was no such person as a father. The word didn't even exist. We were treated like objects.
Ah, Slain, I must tell him about Megrim. Once I'm done drinking from this goat's tit. Slain!
It's too nice a day to argue with you, Cathbad. Have you noticed how it's getting warmer? I've noticed how you ignore your druid. Only because you ignore the goddess. You don't understand, sire. Although we worship a female deity, there's always been a dark side to her. The savagery of nature. Savagery of nature. Which needs controlling, guiding. And that's my job as Sun King, to watch over the earth, my wife,
to keep her in her place. Passive, submissive.
Slaine, can I have a word?
I prefer maintaining the cosmic balance, sire. The cosmic balance will only be achieved when the power of the Greek goddess and her horned god is restored. You seek to advise me on matters of religion. Aye, for I have entered the cauldron of inspiration and tasted the 3 drops of wisdom the goddess herself has told me. Aye, for I have entered the cauldron of inspiration and tasted the 3 drops of wisdom. The goddess herself had told me that a maternal society, not a patriarchy, is the natural way of things. It's just like today. Of course, sire, but surely there comes a time when a boy must leave his mother. Now what could be more natural than that? And become a real man, an all-powerful sun hero with power over women, over nature. Think of what it would really mean if we could really control nature. The rivers, the seas, the forests. We'd end up turning them into sour land. Not with the druids to guide you, sire. And isn't that what's really bothering you, Carpad? If female power was restored, where would that leave you and all the other male priests?
Slaine!
Yeah, aye, what is it, Ukko?
Oh, nothing.
You stupid wee dwarf. I wish dwarves ruled the world, then we'd show you, look. You fucking cunt, you dickhead, Slaine. I'll fucking give you one of these.
That night, Slaine's warriors gathered in the great round hall in front of their private stalls as I announced the arrival of the royal visitors. King Rudridge the Mighty of the Fair Domain, the tribe of the Growling Shields. There they be. There they is. There him are.
Welcome to Muria's King Rudridge.
Nope.
Welcome to Muria's King Rudridge.
I thank you, King Slaine. Allow me to present my wife, Queen Neve. I understand you want to fight me for the Moonsword, and perhaps my bride as well? For I believe you were close to her once. But I think I should warn you, my weapon is endowed with lunar power from the ancient times. It does not actually cut its victims. Rather, their bodies rip themselves open to receive it. And no doctor can cure such a wound. Well, Slaine?
Would you like to be made a load of 4?
What does that mean? Would you like to be made a load of 4? Load for 4? For what?
Would you like to be made a load for 4? Tell him to kiss your axe, Slaine. I'll fight you if you insist, Rudridge. It's certainly a fierce burden to restrain my axe. But wouldn't you rather eat by my side than die at my feet? I have here the cauldron of plenty. It's full of good odours, and if you look, you look as if it's been a long time since you smelt any.
What do you think, Neve? Is it some kind of trick? It wouldn't surprise me. He and his dwarf played enough tricks in the past.
Well, why don't you sample it and find out?
There wouldn't be any harm in just sampling it. What do you say, Neve? It's up to you, Rudridge. Don't ask me. Rudridge needed no further encouragement, although Neve seemed displeased that Slaine had got the better of her husband. It tastes wonderful, this, eh, Neve? It's all right. Go on, have a bit more on your plate, dear. Have a bit more on your plate, dear.
You see, Rudridge, I do not seek to own your sword. Rather that we should all share in the treasures of the goddess. It's the only way we'll ever defeat the formers.
That's more like it, dear. By the time you've finished, you'll be like a laid-up ferret in a rabbit hole. I don't know whose voice is whose now. So you seek to unite the tribes?
Aye, but not for reasons of power. Like all us Celts, I despise...
Oh, that says despite, but I think it should say despise.
I despise and loathe the idea of centralised authority.
Jesus Christ.
Then why become High King? Because it's a purely symbolic role, a way of rallying the tribes. Each tribe will still retain its independence, its character, its freedom. Our freedom!
From that film. Yes, but for how long with you in charge? Neve, please. Oh, she's getting a bit lippy.
Neve, I swear I seek only of life what everyone seeks. No more, no less. What is it the Norsemen say? Fodder, flax, fire and frig. Something to eat, something to wear, and somewhere to keep warm. And someone to love.
And it would seem you found someone too. It's good to see you again, Neve.
As my brother's widow, Migrim is entitled to her stall in the Round Hall. But that is all.
Yes, and she looks so grief-stricken. Why are you in such a bad skin, Neve? Doesn't marriage agree with you two? If it didn't, Rudridge wouldn't have to kill himself to... Oh, Jesus Christ, all this goddamn talking. If it didn't, Rudridge wouldn't have to kill himself to get away from me. I've only agreed to an annual marriage. Under Celtic law, if a man or woman was undecided about their partner, they could agree to be bonded for 1 year, at the end of which the marriage was annulled or renewed. Oh, that's pretty decent. After my past experiences with men, I was reluctant to commit myself to longer. From now on, I redden my fingernails for myself.
How is our son?
My son. You were not present to suffer the labour pains with me, remember? It was custom for men to experience birth pangs as well, by a glamour being put on them, a spell. No one was. As punishment for Neve taking a lover, the king made her have her child entirely on her own.
I'm sorry.
But Kai is well. They send word from the seminary that he already shows a talent for poetry. Well, he certainly doesn't get that from his father. Oh, but his mother is a woman of many talents. She has a genius for inventing things. Do you know she's designed some new bellows spear for the tribe?
The goddess is really in her.
It's late. If we're to make battle plans tomorrow, we'd better get to bed. Good night, SLAINE. Aye, good night.
Good night.
Good night, both. Sweet dreams. Soon after, the others retired, but SLAINE sat drinking alone, apart from his faithful dwarf, of course. Ah, the first love. That's always the one you never really get over. There's always a corner of your heart reserved for her. I remember mine. It was after my mother's second attempt on my life. I'd taken refuge on a nearby farm. In the original manuscript, there now follows a boastful and somewhat unbelievable account of Ukko's early romantic escapades. This has been deleted as being irrelevant, somewhat offensive, and possibly illegal. That's pretty funny. I tell you, after that, I think I preferred Mother chaining me up in the yard and beating me with a broomstick.
Good night, dwarf.
SLAINE still has eyes for Neve. Only when she is dead will he finally be in my power. And within the cauldron is one only too willing to make her end a particularly foul one. A Vagdu, the son of the earth goddess, the ugliest, most stupid and foul creature that ever existed. It's talking about me again. The dark side of earth power. Greetings, decaying one.
You smell nice of primroses, meadow sweet, and oak blossom.
And you smell beyond belief. There, don't vomit. I do not mind your rancid odours, for I know it is your mystic aura, the sweet putrescence that heralds the onset of oblivion.
Mother says I'm disgusting and putrid and stupid.
And you are, decaying one, you are. But the Lord Weird taught me as a child I should welcome death and decay.
Death and decay, yeah, that's me.
That's me too. And it's so sad humans fear any fight you... Wait, what? And it's so sad humans fear and fight you when you're only trying to help them reach the higher planes of existence by spreading your hideous gifts amongst them.
They forget sickness, waste and corruption are all blah, blah, blah. They forget sickness, waste and corruption are natural, a vital part of the cycle of nature, that they must return to the earth for new life to grow out of them. But I never get enough humans to feed on. I'm always hungry for more. I'll look after you properly, decaying one. Here, give me your paw. Make sure you don't leave any bits of you behind. In there is Neve, the poor girl. She hasn't had a very happy life. She was reared as a concubine for her king. Then she had an unhappy love affair, and now she's married to an immature boy. You would really be doing her a favour by devouring her. All right. I don't mind if I do. Unfortunately for Medb, there's stupid, then there's stupider, and there's a Vagdu. As thick as the lifting bar of a cauldron, he began eating Rudridge's hand, believing it was Neve's. Ah! Quickly, Rudridge, use your sword. Oh, that's Neve, I guess. Quickly, Rudridge, use your sword. I can't hold it, he ate my hand. Neve grabs the sword, badass bitch on the move. Shock. Although the sword could kill any living creature, it had no effect on a demon from the other world. Get off of me! Neve! Wait. Neve! Scottish Neve. Slain to the rescue. He grabs the thing's hand, shoves it in his mouth. As thick as a castle wall, he began eating himself until there was nothing left. What happened? What's been going on? He summoned a creature from his cauldron to kill Rudridge. I thought you changed, SLAINE, but you've just become slyer. You were mad with jealousy, so you thought you'd get rid of your rival. Then do your big male hero act and rescue me. She thought it was SLAINE. Oh my god. End of book 1. Book 2. By not treating Neve as a piece of property to be fought and won, by seeking peace with her husband rather than war, SLAINE had shown he really was trying to follow the way of the Horned God. Unfortunately, Neve didn't believe a word of it. Despite his protests, she was convinced he was responsible for a Vagdu attacking Rudridge. I found her the next day fashioning a silver claw to replace Rudridge's hand. Listen, dear, SLAINE didn't summon that demon. He really has changed. Ever since he entered the very cauldron a Vagdu came out of, I suppose. That's right. It's the cauldron of inspiration as well, you see. And I suppose he asked you to speak on his behalf. No, that was my idea. You see, whenever SLAINE's in a bad mood, he always takes it out on me. See, he's got black eyes. SLAINE fucking did him in. You're probably telling the truth for once. I can't think of a more unlikely person to plead his case. Very well. For the sake of our good relations between our two tribes, I suppose I'd better give him the benefit of the doubt. Oh, thank you, dear, thank you. That'll put him in such a good mood. He might even let me off my weekly beating. That's a nice piece of silver, dear. Seems a shame to waste it on a false hand. A working hand. Rudridge's tendons are still intact, so I can bind them round the metal fingers to make them move. It's quite simple, really. You're a bit of an inventor, aren't you? What's that? A winter suit for Kai, made from hide, impregnated with tar to keep out the cold. The upturned toes are to slip through ski straps. Not much point now, it started to thaw, though. You know, I thought it was just us dwarves who were good at inventing things. I mean, you're just a woman! If you listened to the ancient legends, Ukko, you'd know that women first learnt the secret of metallurgy at the fireside when they were cooking food for their men, and a witch designed the first gay bolga, the bellows spear. That makes a single wound when it enters the body, but has 30 barbs on it, which rip the flesh open when it's removed.
prod. Sticks him in the ass. But, yes, well, you are rather on the short side, dear. There's probably a bit of dwarf in you somewhere. Jeez, Ucko, just let her fucking be a clever little genius inventor. Meanwhile, SLAINE was demonstrating to Rudridge's warriors how the Cessair used the gay Bolger. That's a funny name, innit? Bolger.
One way is to drop to the ground, pretending you're wounded, so your enemy lowers his shield and closes in for the kill. Then pick up and throw the spear with your foot, because when you're lying down, your buttock and thigh muscles are the most powerful in your body. Shoosh, poof. Chucks the spear with his foot right into the fucking training dummy, and then move in and rip it out, tearing out his insides.
SLAINE, you know I wanted a word with you the other day.
What of it, dwarf?
It's about Megrim. I think she's working for the Drone Lords.
You're accusing her of treason?
Yes, you see, the other night I watched her preparing strange potions in the forest, and
Ucko, it's against the law to discuss politics in private.
No, wait, listen. She reminds me of that girl we met in the south called Medbr. The bride of Crom. Remember her?
Ucko, the reason it's against the law is to prevent people like you stirring up trouble. Any accusation you wish to make about Megrim must be made in public, before the General Assembly, where she is free to answer it. And if the charge proves false, you will be sentenced to death by suffocation in the nearest bog.
Oh, well, forget it then. But don't say I didn't warn you about her.
Sire, I think you should have a look at the Knucker. He's not his old vicious self. He's only eaten one goat in the last 3 days. It's the warm weather that's making him sluggish. If it continues, he could even go into hibernation.
Everyone's Scottish, apparently. It should be Irish, but... The Knucker was descended from the ice dragons of old. Cold gave them energy and suited their unique method of flight, gliding on the hot air thermals produced by their fiery breath. I don't know who's talking.
Excuse me. I need him to fly to Phineas Mungan.
You've still had no reply to your offer of an alliance.
No, I fear King Gan hasn't forgotten the days when we used to steal his cattle. Aye, we Celts bear grudges a long time. But without the spear of the sun, we cannot be sure of victory.
So you still seek the forbidden weapons? I warned you of the dangers, but you wouldn't listen, would you? And now we must all pay for your pig-headedness.
What are you talking about, Cathbad?
Power is surging from the stones at Karnak, melting the ice. The sudden thaw will cause a deluge, drowning the earth.
If you're right, surely that is the work of Slough Fig, hardly the goddess.
She is using Fig to make us return to her watery womb, a siren luring us to our doom. Now do you see why nature needs controlling, and why you must stop your insane quest for her treasures?
Convinced the goddess would never betray him, SLAINE ignored Cathbad's warnings. Travelling by night when the air was cooler and the Knucker more energetic, we reached the city of Phineas late the following evening. That's dragon wings. See, I'm being dramatic. It's dragon wing noises. Inside, King Gan made us welcome. He was a dour widower with a rather cynical outlook on life, who SLAINE took an instant liking to.
I thought about replying to your call for a tribal confederation, but to be honest, I couldn't see the point. We're all right as we are.
This is my first ever time actually reading this, yeah, so if I fuck up here and there, don't Don't get at me about it.
With the sea demons plundering your land, stealing your cattle.
Well, they won't be the first, will they? Oh, we used to do the same to you. It's all water under the bridge now. We've learnt to live on barks and roots instead.
But if you join us, you can share in the cauldrons that feed all who come before it, with great pieces of beef and pork and lamb, more than you can dig your fresh fork in.
We're quite happy We're quite happy with turnips, aren't we?
Oh, aye.
You see, we don't go looking for trouble in this tribe. Life's too short. Being happy, that's what matters to us, right?
Oh, aye.
But what if trouble comes looking for you, Gan, and the demons attack your capital?
Then I have the Spear of Lug, the sun god, to protect us. Ganan, show them. He's turned into Tony Harrison.
Gan's brother pulled back a curtain, revealing the blazing spear of light, held in place with restraining straps and thongs, and streaming with blood that had to be drained away in pipes.
I don't know who's talking now.
Its fiery blade is irresistible. Its fiery blade is irresistible in battle. When I cry, Aibar, it leaves my hand and always finds its target. And when I cry, Atibar, it makes its way through the wounds of the enemy and returns to me.
I think that's who was talking.
Recognizing Gan, the spear began straining against its thongs and howling and moaning, eager to kill.
I'll have to give it its sleeping draught of poppy leaves soon, or it'll be uncontrollable.
It has the face of a woman, yet you can call it has the face of a woman, yet you call it the Spear of Lug, the sun god.
Well, it dates back to the ancient times when the sun was worshipped as a goddess and there were no gods. But you know what our priests are like.
Only too well. They fear the mother of all land and seek to make us control her.
Oh, when you look at that spear, can you blame them? She's a bloodthirsty bitch.
Then imagine if all her treasures were used together. Cauldron, spear, sword and stone.
We'd be invincible. We'd destroy not only the formers, but the drone lords as well.
Exactly.
No, it's too risky. If you became High King, your tribe would be more powerful than all the others.
I thought you might feel that way, and I have the answer here.
What does it say?
A solemn pledge authorised by my tribal assembly that in the event of my becoming High King, they will agree to you taking their place, provided you are replaced as leader of your own tribe.
It's authentic, sire. They would make me their king.
You have a reputation as a great warrior, as well as being honest and fair. You would be a great asset to the Cesare.
In fact, many of them would prefer you to... SLAINE.
So we will be like brothers with no king greater than another.
It is an astonishing solution.
It is the way of the Horned God.
All right, I agree. Let's drink to it in each other's blood.
Aye.
Does anyone mind if I stick to mead? Oh, that's me. Does anyone mind if I stick to... Jesus Christ. It's early in the morning, okay? Does anyone mind if I stick to mead? He doesn't want to drink blood, the little wuss. Now, you might think SLAINE was mad, but you have to understand that Celts gain status by giving things away. The bigger the gift, the greater the status, or status. Now imagine what a status symbol it was for SLAINE giving his whole tribe away. Yes, if you ask me, SLAINE did it just so he could look big. That's a horrible thing to write, Ukko. Well, it's true. I remember when he used to say to me, I'll do things they'll talk about forever. He was always showing off. You've got it all wrong, Ukko. SLAINE offered his tribe to King Gan to show he was following the way of the Horned God, sharing power with other men. So, am I meant to be impressed? Well, yes. If you look at most so-called heroes, you'll see they're usually solitary, moody men who like to do it on their own. I mean, they're not used to cooperating like women, so it was a big step forward for SLAINE. And I still say he did it for the prestige. That's the real reason you Celts are so generous, you know, so you can show off about it afterwards. Oh, look what I gave away. Aren't I wonderful? Aren't I kind and generous? You're such a nasty piece of work. This is meant to be a romantic, beautiful saga, and you keep making all these snide, horrible comments. Why do you have to spoil everything? Not me, dear. Oh, no. It was Medb who did the spoiling. Vicious, nasty, gnarled little goblin Ukko. You see, knowing SLAINE was trying to arrange an alliance with King Gan, she summoned a ghostly dragon from the other world to prevent it. Don't say summoned, say invited. No, Ukko, don't say summoned, say invited. Because a mere human cannot summon a pan-dimensional being into our world. You invite them. And if they find the idea amusing, they may agree to do your bidding. And don't call it dragon ghost either. Don't call it a dragon ghost either. You see, the world this creature is from is far from real. Is far more real than our own. We're like drawings of people on a cave wall to it. The dragons, humans are the ghosts. Jesus, I can't read for a fark. To the dragons, humans are the ghosts. Look, dear, am I writing this saga, or are you? You are, of course, Ukko. I wouldn't dream of interfering. Oh, dragons and shit. Oh. After all, you were there at the time. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you remembered that. What's going on outside? As I was saying, Medb summoned a ghostly dragon. He just straight up ignoring all of what she was just saying. So, anyway, summoned a ghostly dragon to attack Gan's fortress, so everyone would think, Sire, SLAINE's dragon's escaped. It's burning down the sea. Treachery! Why do we speak the same? I don't know. This alliance was a trick to allay my suspicions. I should have known the Cesare would never change. Bitter your words, Gan, but they are not true, I swear it. Stop them! Ha-ha! Cha! Shlock! Slip, slap, slop. Outside, the wooded battlements topping the stone ramparts were ablaze. Outside, the wooded battlements topping the stone ramparts were ablaze. Soth! Sensing the presence of a rival, the Kanaka was bellowing and howling to be freed. Stay under cover, I'll be back for ye. You better. The Kanaka's jewelled eyes scanned the night sky for the dragon ghost, but the elemental had vanished. They're out of range of our weapons, sire. But not the Spear of Luck. Ibar! Straight through the dragon's head, right in there. Savouring the prospect of an easy kill, the phantom dragon could not resist attacking the dying Kanaka. Oh, he threw it at SLAINE's dragon. Jesus, a bit much, eh? Oh, dragon fight. Oh. For a few moments, SLAINE's serpent regained something of its old savagery. I don't know what's happening. Oh, he dropped his axe. No! Before plunging to the ground in its death throes. I guess those two things go together. For a few moments, SLAINE's serpent regained something of its old savagery, tearing a chunk out of the ghost dragon, before plunging to the ground in its death throes. There is the dragon who attacked there is the dragon who attacked the city, sire. I have can't read. I have wronged SLAINE. Athibar. But despite Gan's call, the blazing lance remained wedged in the Kanaka's diamond skull, capable, as it was, of withstanding enormous temperatures. SLAINE
gets the spear. Oh no, but the ghost dragon's coming down. It's going to get him. Oh no, he's in the water.
The ghost dragon's eating the other dragon, the Kanaka.
The spear was starting to move.
Oh, he almost had it out. Like the sword in the stone. The spear in the fucking dragon's head.
It's the only weapon that'll kill the ghost dragon. Or dragon ghost. Come on, come on. Oh. Yeah.
Examining the phantom afterwards, we saw that its shape wasn't constant. It was like looking at an animal underwater, and
it doesn't smell of sulphur and brimstone as you'd expect, but a pungent...
Oh no, that's... sorry.
It doesn't smell of sulphur and brimstone as you'd expect, but a pungent musky odour.
Like rotting cabbages.
Witchcraft at work here.
And I know whose. Megrim's is what I've been trying to tell you all along.
I jumped to conclusions, SLAINE. I've had so many disappointments. I'm afraid I tend to look on the black side.
Then I can still count on your tribe.
Aye, between us, we warriors who live on the edge of our world, we'll drive our enemies off of it.
Just a moment. What are you doing, Ukko?
Oh, I thought I'd take out the Knacker's jewelled eyes as a memento, you know. You see, I grew very fond of him over the years, and well, it was just a thought. King Gan provided SLAINE and I with suitable mounts, and we returned to Murius. Although SLAINE now believed Megrim was responsible for the supernatural attacks, he ignored my advice to execute her immediately, telling me he wanted to wait until he knew for certain who she really was. Now all that remained was for him to obtain the last of the treasures, the Leofail, the sacred stone of destiny, the navel of the goddess. It was held in the great island city of Phalius, capital of the tribe of the Shadows, so called because they painted their bodies and shields black and preferred to fight on really dark nights. I'm spitting everywhere. And he's eating his bogies, that's funny. Unfortunately, someone else already sought the stone. They called him the Avank. He was the last of the beaver folk who built their homes with submerged entrances in the marshes on the edge of the great inland sea, and which gave them their name. They were a different wiser race. They were a different, wiser race of humans, gentle, peace-loving moon worshippers, sleeping by day, only coming alive during the hours of darkness. Oh, like me. They were happy. Aww. And then the sun heroes came, with all their light and shit. And they looked at the beaver folk with bone-ridged horns over their eyes, lurking in the depths of the bogs, and they called them devils, and began exterminating them, as sun heroes usually do, in the name of progress and civilization. You see how it's analogous to our times. And built a great city over the remains of their lodges, Phalius, city of screaming shadows, city of the damned. Showing the life of the Avank. See, it's like indigenous folk getting fucked by the fucking white man. He had never entered the city before. He had been too afraid of the sun heroes, but he sensed instinctively the way up through the foundations of the city, through the tunnels of his ancestors, through the lodges where they'd huddled together and made their last stand, fighting with bare fangs against weapons of iron and bronze. Bones of his ancestors. The few who had escaped had found refuge elsewhere, in a cave at the bottom of the sea, where they were safe even from sun heroes. Then, one by one, they too went on, returning to the Moon Mother. And there was just the Avank left. Although he was not alone, for the voices of his ancestors were with him always, laughing and comforting him, preparing him for the moment when he too must go on. He had never entered the city before. He had been too afraid of the sun heroes. Oh, it's a callback to the... That's quite neat, isn't it? So you see him go through the tunnels and swimming and climbing and, until now. Up he goes into the city, for now the voices of his family were drowned out by another voice, still on this side of the threshold of death, calling him. Find the stone, ordering him, find the stone, hounding him, even in his dreams until he did its bidding. Find the stone, you ape, find the stone! In the great hall, King Sengan too heard voices in his head as he drank alone, counting the hours until dawn. Oh, just like me.
How much longer? Another 3 hours according to the water clock, sire.
3 hours till he could close his eyes and blot out the shadows cast by the firelight, of the screaming men, women and children of the beaver folk, of his warriors cutting them down, mutilating them before they died. 3 hours until the screaming stopped. Although, like the rest of his tribe, King Sengan painted himself black, the dark rings round his eyes were not tattooed. Although, like the rest of his tribe, King Sengan painted himself black, the dark rings round his eyes were not tattooed, but tinted by long nights of terror. Got there in the end. Ever since they'd stolen the stone! They've got the bloody thing. They'd taken the beaver folk's sacred treasure as a trophy, a symbol of their great victory over the devils. And under its baleful influence, his tribe had slowly turned from sun heroes into moon worshippers, sleeping by day, only coming alive during the hours of darkness, like the people they'd slain, who spoke to him every night, if only they would stop, if only there could be an end to it all. And, as if in answer to a prayer, the Avank! The warriors of Phalius had not been concerned about one survivor of the beaver folk, regarding the Avank as a harmless imbecile. In fact, they'd sometimes throw him fish and laugh as he gibbered and drooled his thanks. But they weren't laughing tonight. Unhappy for you the night you set foot in the royal hall. Unhappy for you the night you set foot in the royal hall. In fact, speech was not a mark of intelligence for the beaver folk, but of stupidity. Language restricted and narrowed thought processes. They had long learnt to communicate directly with their minds. Ooh. The Avank's meaningless grunting and gabbling was his desperate attempt to reach this lower species. And they tried to make them understand what they'd done. But he wasn't trying tonight. He's fucking killing them all. Kill! The voice commanded him. Now, the stone!
No, let him take it. Maybe then the curse on us will be lifted. Maybe then I'll be free.
The news reached Murius.
The Avank has taken the stone to the lair at the bottom of the sea, where none dare venture, even if they could hold their breath long enough to find it. Once again our plans frustrated. This is too much of a coincidence.
Aye. No doubt the Lord Weird has managed to control this ape creature by sorcery, sire.
No doubt.
Nay doubt. There you go. Nay instead of no. So how will you recover it from the seabed, SLAINE? What cunning plan have you got up your sleeve?
Sire, what are you going to do? I don't know.
In the days that followed, a strange lassitude came over SLAINE. He remained in his private stall, drinking and brooding on his failure.
This isn't like you, SLAINE. In the old days you'd have thought of something by now. It is the way of the Horned God, Morgan. The Horned God isn't always full of clever plans and schemes. He's vulnerable, mortal. Only then can he face his goddess. But without the Stone of Destiny, I know we lose everything. But don't you see, there's no shame in losing. It's only sun heroes who've taught us there is. It's only sun heroes who've taught us there is. Sun heroes are so obsessed with winning, they'd even beat a blind man at wooden wisdom. Because they're afraid of failure, of death. They have to conquer everything in their path, riding on until there's nothing left to destroy. But the Horned God knows life is only a game, that success isn't worth
paying that price. So he just sits back and does nothing and survives. If this dung is what your goddess has taught to you, then Cathbad was right. If this dung is what your goddess has taught to you, then Cathbad was right. A goddess does need to be controlled by men, kept in her place like all women. Oh, you big man bastard. So they cannot drag us down to our destruction. What do you want? No, what do you want? I can't read for a What do you want?
I've come to help you forget your troubles, sire.
I'm already doing quite well on my own. You'll do even
better with me. Why don't you show me the other talents of the horned god?
I've told you before, it wasn't for a woman. I've told you before, it wasn't for a woman's lips I took on this task.
Wasn't it? Don't you see what all I apologise. I do.
Really apologise.
Don't you see what all men seek, SLAINE? To merge with the goddess, to find oblivion in Garden of Paradise.
Danu has already shown me the delights of the other world.
But she was just a dream, a phantom. I am flesh and blood. I am the queen here. And you are mine to command at last. In his womb-like cave beneath the sea, the Avank cradled the navel of the goddess, rocking to and fro, crooning to it. The harsh voice inside his head was gone now, and he felt at peace. For the ancient treasure of his people was returned to them at last, and it seemed to this lonely creature that the stone was singing to him, rocking him to sleep. And at last he slept, meeting his dead wife and friends again in his dreams, curled up in the fetal position in the belly of the goddess. In the great hall, King Sengan drank alone. It was daylight, but the voices were still inside his head. The shadows of his victims still flickered on the walls. The beaver folk who had fallen in sleep would never let him sleep now. Returning the stone had only increased their power to torment him.
Queen Eve and a dwarf fit to see you, sire.
But he would outsmart them yet. I don't know what I'm trying to extrapolate. From now on, he would question everything so they couldn't trick him again.
Sire, Queen Eve and a dwarf here to see you. If they want to see you, why are you telling me? No, to see you, sire. Oh, to see me? Ah, I see. But why on earth would I want to see myself?
He's talking fucking gibberish.
And what is seeing? I see people in the shadows, but they're not there. How do I know what's real and what's delusion? How do I know I'm not a delusion? I'll just show them in then, sire.
Greetings, King Sengan. This dwarf and I have a plan to recover the Stone of Destiny. But naturally, if you're not keen, we'll quite understand and go away.
Ah, if only they would go away. Who? The voices inside my head. They never leave me alone.
Well, at least it's company for you. They always say you're never alone when you're mad. Fucking grabbed his mouth. Fucking shut up. We need a boat and some men to assist us in finding the Avank's cave on the seabed. Will you help us, sire?
Help? You're no help. Why did you think you could help me?
No, sire, we want you to help us. Gorgeous paintings. Obviously, I mean, the glory.
No one can help me now. No one can help me now. I think His Highness has given his permission. If you'll come with me, I'll make the necessary arrangements.
Look, are you sure this is going to work? Of course it will, Ukko. Of course it will work, Ukko, provided SLAINE puts on a convincing display of affection for Megrim. Oh, I'm sure SLAINE will be very convincing. Good. Well, as long as he's keeping her occupied, the Avank will be harmless and we can get to work. I can get to work, you mean? You know, I never thought the day would come when SLAINE would turn to a woman for help. Turn to a dwarf, you mean? Turn to both of us. Yes, but I'm the one who's got to go down there in this stupid thing, remember? Kai's suit is sealed with tar against water, and I've adapted it so air is pumped in through these wooden pipes joined together with leather hose. So it's perfectly safe, Ukko. Yes, SLAINE has really changed, but that's the influence of the Horned God, of course. He's certainly showing the cunning of the Horned God. Because ask yourself this, of the three of us, who's got the best job? The cave is directly below, my lady. And just because the suit fits me, I still don't see why I have to go. Why can't you send a child down instead? Ukko, I thought you enjoy stealing again. I thought you'd enjoy stealing again. Down he'd go. Bloop, sploosh. Water noises, you get it. There's the entrance. All this trouble just for the navel of the goddess. I mean, what's so special about her belly button? Mind you, I have to admit, now I'm here, it does bring out all my old thieving instincts. There he is with the stone. Yes, the old magic's still there in the fingers. I gave the signal to haul the stone away. Tug, tug, I assume. He's awake. Oh, no, he's not. Phew! Now, provided Megrim doesn't realise what's going on, I'm home and dry. So I just hope SLAINE can keep it up. Keep it up. His pain. So you will listen to my advice from now on, sire?
Aye, just as my brother Ragal listened to ye.
And make me your queen?
Why not? Anything you want. But you can't. But can't you stay a wee longer?
There is a matter I must attend to, sire. Then I shall rejoin you.
No, don't go yet. I still ache for your kisses.
Still? Something wrong. I sense it. I must transfer my consciousness to the Ewank.
It's gone! The stone is gone! Thank damn you for that. I was beginning to find your company somewhat boring. Me? Boring? I can think of more interesting ways to spend an afternoon, like spiking my hair, for instance. It was all a ploy. You knew all along that you were really my old enemy Medb. Oh, aye, I suspected it from the very beginning. And you still... Aye. It was better to have you where I could see you, rather than plotting behind my back. You bastard!
Oh, no, that's not her right accent.
You bastard!
Oh, whatever, her voice.
But I shall triumph yet! Rise up, Ewank! They have stolen the stone! Rise up and bring havoc on their heads! Rise up and destroy them! Kill! 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 The Ewank rises up and he's fucking tearing them apart, fucking getting them. Now deal with her too and take the stone. Show her red slaughter. Launch her into eternity. What are you waiting for, you stupid beast? Do it.
But he couldn't. Although this smooth skin was not beautiful like his mate, yet he sensed her femaleness. She was the instrument of the goddess. She had severed the umbilical cord connecting him with life, and now he was being called home to rejoin his loved ones.
Kill her!
But it was his time, not hers, to go on. Ah, he died, but he got his peace, and he gets to be with his people again. Bless the Ewank. Poor guy. I thought he was like a nasty monster until I actually read the thing. Now I realise he's a sad, sad character. Oh. In the Great Hall, King Sengan screamed and howled, smashing plates, turning over tables.
Queen Eve and the dwarf are here to say their farewells, sire.
This was the cruel vengeance of the goddess with her wicked sense of humour. He who had destroyed the moon worshippers had ended up moon-torn, a lunatic. From somewhere too close for comfort he could hear her dreadful mocking laughter. We just came to tell you we will take good care of the Stone of Destiny, Your Highness. And to inform you, the Assembly of the Kings will take place 14 nights from now at Bog Danu, when the stone will proclaim who is the rightful High King of the tribes of the Earth Goddess. Arriving back at Murius, we learnt from SLAINE that Megrim was in fact the witch Medb, and how immediately after summoning the Avank she had vanished. With Medb safely out of the way, the inauguration ceremony went ahead without incident. The four kings gathered on the sacred hill known as Bog Danu, the belly of the goddess. In the distance, two more sacred hills completed the outline of the deity. Oh, it's like a tits and a tummy. That's funny. The Stone of Destiny was placed in a small hole in the summit to form the omphalos, her navel, and the cauldron of blood positioned in front of it. Then each king, taking the two remaining treasures, the Sword of the Moon and the Spear of the Sun, specially drugged for the occasion, approached the stone. First, King Gan. I assume specially drugged is basically putting the spear to sleep so it's not screaming the whole time.
Nothing. Ah, well, I didn't think it would be me. I'm not bothered anyway.
Next, King Sengan, who had to be dragged screaming to the stone, but who received no answering cry from the Leofail. Then King Rodridge. But no one who had a personal blemish could become High King. Ah, not with your fake false hand, you iron-handed bastard. Sniff, sulk, oh, he's sad that he doesn't get to be king. And finally, King SLAINE. The stone has proclaimed him king.
It cries out its approval. Truly he is the Adri, the King of Kings.
And from the cauldron, holding a gleaming silver helmet, the goddess as Bloodred, the Lady of the Flowers. Close your... I don't know who's saying this. Is that SLAINE? No. Close your eyes, Ukko. It is not permitted for the vulgar to look on her beauty. No, leave them open, Ukko, for I am not ashamed of my body, the earth. Ooh. It is men who seek to cover me up beneath their cities, who think there is guilt and shame in nature, who would deny I even exist. So keep your eyes open. Be my horned god, SLAINE Macroth. Be hardy, but not hard. Be strong, but not brutal. Amuse me, don't abuse me. Love me, make me laugh. You are the lord of my beasts, for you have the gift and the curse of consciousness. But always remember, you're still a beast. You are not separate from nature. Rule not for power, but for pleasure. Rule for singing and dancing and making merry, for they bring peace and harmony to the earth. Restore the kingdom of pleasure to the earth, SLAINE Macroth. SLAINE, 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 King of Kings, SLAINE. Yay! Nest? Yes, Ukko. How about a break? I've got all the great battles to write about next, and SLAINE's warp out and Med's revenge. It's exhausting stuff. I should have thought you'd enjoy all that violence. I will, but I promised Moron, the dung collector, I'd have a few drinks with him after he finished emptying the fortress cesspit. It's out of the question. You must pray to Ogmios, the great god of literature, inventor of the sacred Ogham alphabet, for inspiration and guidance. Oh, Ogmios, great god of literature, supreme hack, look with favour on thy humble servant. Ukko the dwarf, I beseech you. Psst! How about knocking out a couple of quick chapters for me, eh, Oggy? As a favour from one hack to another. The god is moving the ink brush. plop into the ink. It's working! It's working! Oggy's answered my prayers. What's it say? What's it say? So... Oh, oh, that's very nice. That's very cultured. That's exactly the kind of language you'd expect from a god of literature. All right. I'm getting the message. I'm getting back to it. Blah. Now, where was I? Ah, yes, the final battles. From the south came the Drune Lords and their skull-sword soldiers, led by the old horned god, the Lord Weird Slautheg. Eyes without life, sanded heads, piles of carcasses. These are pleasing words to me. And his priestess, Medb. While from the north came the sea demons, led by Balor of the Evil Eye. The tribes of the Earth goddess rode out to confront them, led by their High King, SLAINE, the new horned god. They gathered by the frozen waters of the inner sea for the muster. Under this ancient law, the last to survive Under this ancient law, the last to arrive for a battle was executed in honour of the goddess. It also encouraged punctuality. Very smart. Am I the last one? Yes! Oh, shit it. And so SLAINE bestowed on the warrior the great honour of being ritually sacrificed. For the goddess! For the goddess! The great battle that would decide the fate of the land of the young was about to begin. Book 3! From their great cities they came, the tribes of the earth goddess Danu, commanded by their 5 mighty kings. King Gan of Murius, his brother King Ganan of Phineus, the boy King Rodridge of Gorius, mad King Sengan of Phalius, and the Ardri, the king of kings, SLAINE. To do battle with the Fomorians who had laid waste to Turnan Og. Battle sounds. King, 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 spear, king, king, king. Yes, SLAINE had come a long way from his days as a farm labourer, layabout and thief, and, of course, he owed it all to his faithful dwarf and companion Ukko, who had so often kept him away from crime, depravity, and loose living. Look how old he's getting, poor Ukko. Ah, yes, as I write these words here in the Eternal Fortress, centuries later, I recall, as if it were yesterday, that great battle on the frozen sea with Balor and his demons of the deep. The noise and the tumult, like I just did. The clashing of swords and axes, the screeching of horns and bagpipes, the screams of the wounded, the thunder of chariots, the trumpeting of the war beasts. And that terrible moment when the power of the most holy weapons of the earth goddess were unleashed. Eeeeee! The flaming spear of the sun that was alive and thirsty for slaughter. Howling with battle lust. Never tiring of slaying. The silver sword of the moon. That can cut through any metal. And the cauldron of blood. Entrance to the other world. They're dumping all the bodies in the entrance to the other world. With its ability to regenerate the dead. They're getting up again and crawling out. Unable to speak, yet the corpses seemed to know what was expected of them. To battle they go. Lurching back onto the battlefield, the half-dead went about their ghastly work. Keen to send the sea demons to the place they had just visited. But the Fomors too had magical powers. Their commander's venomous eye destroyed anyone on whom its look fell, while his warriors had the power to put a glamour on their beasts. Snorf, snorf. That's a like a boar noise.
Snorf, snorf. Battle noises.
As the battle reached white heat, blood carried by the wind covered faces and armour, so it was impossible to recognise friend from foe. Although this did not seem to bother either side, swords became bent from breaking bones. Crack. So they had to keep stopping to straighten them with their teeth. Oh, I thought he was getting chopped in the mouth, but he's just straightening out his sword. Oh, it's all bendy. Oh, that's funny. And into this furious, repulsive, gory combat rode SLAINE, Macroth. He doesn't say that, but I'll add it in anyway. In his armoured war chariot, bristling with sharp hooks and prongs, and nails and blades and spikes and ripping instruments, stabbing his charioteer with a horse goad in his eagerness to get into the thick of the fray. Ah! Doing his great feat of the chariot pole to strike terror into the enemy. He's riding the bit between the... and he's going... he's like surfing. He's like he's Tony Hawk on a fucking chariot. Wow. Whether it was the vibrations from the battle, the thunder of chariots... the curses and screams of the dying, the warm blood spilling on the ice, the corpses piling upon it, or the long-awaited thaw. Soth! But... SLAINE! SLAINE!
What is it, Akko?
The ice is about to...
Crack! Sploosh!
Slop, slip, 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 slip. SLAINE? There's bubbles. He farted under the water and it's all bubbling up. Oh, my throat is not enjoying all the voices and everything. This is a bad idea. It was the womb again, the black bottomless pit of the unknown from which all life sprang and must return. Down SLAINE goes. Only this time the demons were victorious.
He has returned to his goddess. And without their high king, the tribes of Gargantuan Gut will be destroyed.
This calls for a celebration. Open a bottle of human tears, boys. Human grizzles and snivels, bitter and salty, just the way you like it, Captain. The sweet taste of human misery. I can savour their screams all over again. Yes, I remember one girl was so upset by what I did. She cried her eyes out.
Her eyes are in the sloop.
And here's the good news, boys. There's lots more misery on the way. We'll fill buckets with their tears. Cauldrons, baths, rivers, oceans. Let's get the fuck out of here. Climb up the mast. Get away from him. Fuck you, fucking...
That was my dramatic reading of no words, but some letter R's here and there. Leaping off the yacht, totally warped, SLAINE began a murderous, crimson, brutal charge, hewing and cleaving, stabbing and cutting and mutilating his way through the demons, killing 50 to the left and 50 to the right. He didn't think it too many. In fact, it was about average for SLAINE. The next few pages of Ukko's manuscript are written in a frenzied scrawl and are almost illegible.
Hack, slay, screaming, blood, maim, disembowel.
Apart from maim and disembowel, which appear frequently, the only other recognisable words are entrails and wrapped them around his neck. Hello, Ukko. How are you getting on?
Oh, quite well, dear. I've finished the battle and I'm about to describe what happened to SLAINE next. Nest? Yes, Ukko. How do you spell catastrophe?
Oh dear, bad things afoot. Balor and his defeated sea demons fled back to Tory Island, leaving the tribes of the Earth Goddess to celebrate, collecting the brain balls of the dead as trophies.
Mongan, come and find a suitable skull to drink out of. There is no time for celebration, sire. During our absence, the Great Plain has flooded, Murius has sunk beneath the waves, and Phineas, Gorius, and Phalius have shared its fate. These are the survivors. Turnan Og has become Turnan Bio, the land of terrors. But the goddess promised me she'd spare the land of the young. It is just as I warned you, sire. You can never trust a female.
You fucking bastard, shut up. Danu's words came back to SLAINE. Sometimes I am your mother and hold you. Sometimes I am your sister and befriend you. And other times your lover, who will stick one in your back.
There is high ground to the west in Eriu that should be safe from the flood. Each tribe will escort its refugees there. Then return here in 7 days for the muster and the final battle with the Lord Weird.
A week later, Queen Neve and her husband returned for the muster. Horse noises, that's the... Rudridge. I forgot his voice. Neve. And the muster, at the muster, SLAINE waited to see who would be the last to arrive. Oh, because they killed the last fucker. Never imagining for one moment it would be...
You!
Neve! Oh my god.
She is the one, sire. Her death will bring you victory in the forthcoming battle. No, not Neve.
It wasn't her fault. A mist delayed her. Take me instead.
A sacrifice is required, your highness. What would be the point unless it cost you dear?
Bye, Ukko. Don't forget to bring some more of those funny mushrooms. Bye, girls. We must do it again sometime. Ooh, look at them all flustered, rosy red cheeks like they've been up to no good. Or been up to very, very good. Sorry I'm late. I had a bit of a party last night.
On the contrary, Ukko, you're just in time to be offered up to the goddess. I'm afraid not. I'm afraid not, sire. Dwarves are excluded from the lore of the muster. They are not considered worthy.
No, I'm definitely not worthy.
SLAINE, we've all lost loved ones in this war. You could be no exception.
Aye.
Wait, here's King Singan. They're coming for me. They're coming for me. Killing him would be an act of mercy. Shadows everywhere. Ah!
I forget his voice, so fucking whatever.
No, sire. Lunatics are also excluded from the law.
SLAINE, you have to do it if the tribes are to remain ununited.
I cannot.
You must if our people are to be free. Goodbye, SLAINE. You have proved through your vulnerability as well as your strength, your sorrow as well as your savagery. You are truly the Horned God. It's the name of the book. Oh, I don't know if they're kissing or just hugging, because maybe they're kissing. Goodbye, Rudridge.
Get my axe, dwarf.
Oh, I love this drawing. It's really cool, him lugging the big axe. We shall meet again in the other world, SLAINE.
Oh, she's bad, isn't she? Oh, looking on all evil. Oh, he's about to do it. He's about to behead his... Is that his ex-wife? I think that's who that is. Oh, shit, he doesn't want to. Look at the sadness in his face. They can't look. They don't want it to happen. Oh, it can't be that it ends this way.
Wait, sire!
We found this witch spying on us. Well, well, so you too are late for the muster, Meb. You know what that means.
Aye, let her be executed instead. She's responsible for the deaths of so many of us.
If you're expecting me to beg for mercy, Slain, you should remember death holds no fear for me, for nothing truly dies. Death and birth are but a threshold to cross back and forth. You're right, and nothing would give me greater pleasure than to help you over that threshold. However, this is not the time to settle old scores, and so I spare your life.
But sire, it is the law of the muster.
A law that has no place in the kingdom of pleasure. From now on, the law will be for the people, not people for the law.
You're breaking a most sacred and ancient rule. When laws are stupid, they should be broken, Cathbad.
I agree, and as frequently as possible. In fact, as all laws are stupid, why not do away with the lot of them, Your Majesty?
Ugh.
But it was all right for you to sentence my wife to death while you changed the rules for your ex-lover.
He had to, Rudridge. It is the way of the horned god.
Join us, Medb, with your help. I don't know who's talking. With your help, we'll triumph over the Droon Lords.
And betray my beloved master, the Lord Wade Slough-Fig. Why do you follow that foul-smelling, decaying spectre? You don't understand. When I was a child, I'd stroke his soiled fur, and he'd explain that his rancid odours were the sweet putrescence which heralds oblivion. Indeed, his mystic aura, as he called it, was no worse than the stench of the flying ointment we witches use at Sabbats. But that night in the Wicker Man, Feg intended to sacrifice... Someone else is talking now. But that night in the Wicker Man, Feg intended to sacrifice you to the great maggot. Maggot noises. That's what Crom Cruach really is. A macrobe, a creature from the macrocosm that emerges through the I don't know who's talking. Wormholes in time... That's what Crom Crouch really is, a macrobe, a creature that emerges from the macrocosm, that emerges, a creature from the macrocosm that emerges through the wormholes in time to suck the life force of humans as food for the dark gods. It's true, Medb, I swear it. You really think I don't know that, you poor male fool? After all this time, you haven't learned anything, have you? Then teach me, Medb. Help me to bring about the return of the lost age of witches, when woman ruled the earth. You really think you can achieve that? You really imagine this priest who wears a woman's dress will permit it? You're so naive, Slain. When your 7-year rule is over, he'll simply go back to the way things were. You can't change things from within. You can't build a new kingdom on the old. In the end, the old order, the complacent, the arrogant, and the sycophants will rise again to the surface like the slime they are. So what's your answer? Destroy them! Oh! Ghost Dragon! Destroy everything! And replace with what, witch? Nothing! Better to make love and war burn through life like a shooting star and die before you grow old.
At that moment, the army of the Droon Lords attacked. Oh, Jesus, that was sudden. They didn't hear him coming.
Let the gnashing start. Vigorously, I want the crimson fluid to flow. Loud, I like the wailing, and not without cause. Bitter shall be the battle, exceedingly great the bloodshed, highly uncongenial the carnage, for my forces are unwilling to skulk, and not pleasant the blows they strike. They delight in making women widows, and giving the bloody maggot plenty to suck. They shall deserve their horns of mead, because eyes without life, sundered heads, piles of carcasses, these are pleasing words to me. You want to follow the goddess Slain? There lies the true way. Witch, you betray her by siding with the Droon lords. No, Slain, not I. It was your cities she drowned, not ours. Can't you see why? It was for the benefit of our mercy. It was for the benefit of and what? Benefit of and out of mercy to living things she ordained such slaughter and destruction, to shorten the miseries of life on this plane. No! That is the perverted religion of the Droons! Oh, fuck, he's got me! This is true. This is the true way to restore her power. Don't fight it, Slain. Let it happen. Join me in an orgy of death. Once again, the weapons of the Earth Goddess took their toll. The flaming spear of the sun. Ibar, go, make today a day of abundance, of battle-mangled flesh. Fill the plain with slaughtered warriors. The silver sword of the moon. Swim in the blood of men. Nourish your blade in their bodies. And the cauldron of resurrection. Behind your weapons leave a dreadful fall of slaughter. Inflict punishments on the skull swords. Play hurley with their heads. But Slain's army was decimated by his battle with the sea demons. And the Droons were equipped with skyships from which they bombarded his forces. They're pouring hot yellow onto them. Oh no! I don't recall the beard last time I saw him. The aging process. Oh, they're back in the... I don't recall the beard last time I saw him. The aging process must be accelerating. Yes, despite his enthusiasm for his subject, he's deteriorating fast. How long has he got? A few days before his mind goes. A week, perhaps, before the end. That's why I've been pushing him to complete the saga. Quite so. Just as long as he can reach the point where Slain dies. The bastards! They just want to hear about Slain dying. Does Slain die? No, Slain can't die. As the battle fury mounted, Slain put on his coronation helmet, and the skull swords looked on in amazement. The symbol of the horned god. He mocks our leader and our religion. Cut him down. No, listen to me. Once we were one religion, one people, until both followed false paths from the goddess. Your Droons told you war was the only way to bring an end to the suffering of life on this plane, while our druids taught us to accept sorrow and hope for happiness in the other world. But my coronation oath was to make people happy now, to bring the sun back into their lives, to lighten their darkness, make the crops grow and the cows give milk, to free them from fear. Your horned god is finished. He's rotting and impotent, because instead of laying the turf on his face after 7 years, he held on to life. As a result, he is a living death. Answer him, Lord Wade. Tell us he lies. Although I am rotting, I am also highly gifted. What I say is without vanity, not scanty the knowledge in my head. I am possessed of penetrating wit. I am astonished at my own intellect. Like me. I am a wonder whose origin is not known. I have lived a multitude of ages before my present rule. I saw the destruction of Atlantis. I was in the cave of beasts when witches reigned. I stood with the Titans in Lioness. I gave Balor his evil eye in the land of Lochlan. I was in Glastonbury when the Temple of the Stars was built. I escaped from the fortress of the ever-living ones. I visited the
Galdig in Sithral. I was the Elfric in the Elworlds. I have come now to this remnant of Atlantis, Ternan Og. There is nowhere I have not been. Am I not a candidate for fame? And I do not apologize for greatness. An excellent general also am I, preeminent in the field of gore, splendid my princely rule, not small my arcane powers. So would you give me allegiance, or this upstart youth? He concerns me not much. Right it is that he should be under ravens.
Wait, who's saying that? I don't know if SLAINE's saying that bit.
Well, will you follow me, or that bombastic eunuch whose stench is so bad you have to wear breath masks?
Feg gives us power. What can you offer us, boy? Aye, what do we get out of changing sides?
Your lives in new empty land in Albion to the east, and Ariel to the west, for if you remain here, you'll drown when the inland sea bursts its banks. That's why your drones brought the sky ships, so they could escape when the ocean fills the central plain. Oh, my throat's killing me, oh my god.
You cur! So you'd leave us to die, huh? Visit death upon him!
Cut down your priests who have enslaved your minds for so long. Spare none.
SLAINE hacked his way through Slaufeg's personal guard, who had remained loyal to the Lord Weird. He fucking torched the head of his horse. He fell off his horse. He bumped his head and couldn't get up in the morning.
Now, young stag, so proud of your youth and virility, old Feg's going to do something about that. He's ready for you.
Oh, well, that's other people saying that, I think.
Now, young stag, so proud of your youth and virility, old Feg's gonna do something about it. He's ready for you, my lord Weird.
Eyes without life, sundered heads, piles of carcasses, these are pleasing words to me, and this deed shall pleasure me most of all. Time it is now, stripling, to lop the mistletoe, cut the divine twig, chop the golden bough. Not large the cut, although exceedingly distressing. Violent my impulse, terrible the consequences, great your scream.
He's gonna cut his wanger off. Oh my god.
Schlock!
He fucking gored him with his fucking boar belt.
Follower of the earth, bitch! Severe is Feg's song, but he'll make you sing a higher one.
You have caused me much affliction. Gnashing is the wound. Horrible my innards look. But I will not honour the ground yet. I have prepared myself against contusions.
He fucking sucked his guts back up into his body and healed himself.
Not until the day of doom shall the long grass cover me under the sod.
We've got him.
But that perforation greatly provoked my wrath. Active I'll be in using my flesh hook.
Ever closer he draws.
Cheerful the work.
He's doing like he showed before with the spear and the fling it with his toe, and he got him in his penis. He got his penis. Yeah, he's chopping him up. He's fucking stabbing him and shit. It was the gay Bolgar, the spear with thirsty barbs that cannot be removed, whose wound was always fatal and no sorcery could heal.
A bull of conflict you are, SLAINE, energetic in battle with a wide-ranging axe. I am. Rightful it is yours should be the victory. It has. But this old man, now feeble, was not so in his youth. Many a carcass was usual from my hand. Vigorously young witches loved me, and now I am withered and decrepit. I cannot do much any more. My time has finally come. It has. I am dying.
You are. Although it would have been generous to have life prolonged another month, another week, even another hour.
Looking up, he saw the three aspects of the goddess jeering down at him. He had deserted her, hated her for his impotence, and now Danu, with her own black sense of humour, had her revenge. And the Lord Weird saw the joke. Ha 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 ha! But in his voice. Ha ha ha! As the bloody maggot Crumcratch came for him. Crom lives. The great worm had dropped its cloak of invisibility as it prepared to do the bidding of its masters, the dark gods. No, not Feg, not my sweet foul one. And suck Feg down to Sithrall. It looks like an anus, a leaking anus, just like me. Then the inland sea finally swept towards the battlefield in a great tidal wave. Sloosh. A moment the Droon Lords had anticipated and prepared for with their sky ships in the sky, leaving the tribes of the Earth Goddess to perish. Oh, fuck. And so Nan Og became Turfo Thween, the land under the waves. It was the end of an era. Oh, I'm having indigestion, pardon me. It was the end of everything. Slump. Clink, clink. Gosh. Hewing and hacking with violent hostile blows, the barbarous dwarf slew all who came before him. 100 ferocious, cruel, unmerciful warriors fell at his feet. He didn't think it too many. Not even SLAINE himself was a match for the heroic homunculus. Ukko, the muscled one, chopping them up. Even SLAINE. Show me mercy, Ukko, I beg ye. When did you ever show me mercy, Macroft? Your grave opens tonight. The ravens shall croak over your head. Oh, Ukko, my hero. You were always the one for me, and me. Later, there is still much work to be done. Ukko, wake up. There is still much work to be done. Oh, it's no use. See if you can do anything for anything more Ron. Ha! His name's More Ron. It's like more. Ukko, I've brought your friend to see you. More Ron, the dung collector. Now, my darling, we shall be together forever. Boink. Oh, he booped his nose with his nose. A little crunched up. That's good painting, that is. Ugh! Never fails. They use me instead of smelling salts to revive patients in the spittle house. Yes, well, thank you, moron. Now, if you're sufficiently rested, Ukko, I'd like to continue with the saga. Where was I? Oh, his voice, whatever. And so Nan Og became Turfo Thwin, the land under the waves. It was the end of an era. It most certainly was, but it was not the end of SLAINE. Ooh. The High King called on the powers of the Stone of Destiny, the navel of the goddess, and dragged the skyships down to earth. Enrich your blades with deeds of violence. Oh, I think that's SLAINE saying that. Enrich your blades with deeds of violence. Kiss my axe. The priest king's blood was used to feed the weird stones that levitated the ships. Hardly had they lurched into the air once more when the sea finally devoured the land. Ah, now this is a good opportunity to bring out the reason, Ukko. Reason? What reason? Why Danu betrayed SLAINE and destroyed his world? Because cities are alien to nature. Murius, Gorius, Phineas and Phalius were growing too big. The tribes were losing touch with their roots in the earth. She wanted to put the clock back, to walk widdershins against the sun. Nah, readers aren't interested in all that fancy stuff. What they want is plenty of hacking and slaying. Yeah, I like hacking and slaying. But there's always been more to SLAINE than just some muscle-bound barbarian. It's an attempt to redefine the hero, to convey the matriarchal origin of myth,
Take a tip from an old hack, dear, and stick to SLAINE chopping off brain balls. Yeah, I don't like the complicated bits. I only like it when he's killing people. And why not? Yes, SLAINE never fooled me. As far as I'm concerned, underneath all that horned god business, he was still the same mad axeman. This conversation, recorded in the saga, goes some way to explaining the contradictions in SLAINE's character, as Nest and Ukko both attempt to exert their opposing views of the High King. Although, as a warrior torn between old and new societies, SLAINE himself is a paradoxical figure. Well, carry on, Ukko, but just bear in mind most of our readers aren't like your friend. What happened to the skyships after they headed west to Eriu? Don't really, do you, you really want to know? Of course. Sure. What happened, Ukko? Lots of hacking and slaying. To avenge Feg's death, Medb invoked the full fury of the Elworlds. Hold on to your hero harness. Oh, someone else is saying it. Hold on to your hero harness, SLAINE. What is it, dwarf? Vengeance! Vengeance for Feg! For Medb, who worshipped the destructive side of nature, it was the time to call on her goddess. Hear me, white goddess of death, my sister. Grant me your favours of terror, pain, and destruction. Give them to these warriors that need your cruel touch so dearly. My throat is killing me. Wreak havoc on the charlatans who pretend to worship you. Open their wounds, weaken their sword arms, terrorize their hearts, soil their breeches. Oh, not my fucking breeches. But SLAINE also... Which? This panel, then this panel? Okay, well... Through the spear of the sun, the sword of the moon, and the cauldron of blood, grant us your protection. But SLAINE also appealed to her. Hear me, great goddess of life, awesome lady, the horned god, the only one of your gods who never betrayed you. Ask you not to betray us now. Help those who honour you. As Medb summoned more creatures from the Elworlds, I cast these words into the mists of time and space, and elsewhere unseen forces lurking there. Gather to me now. Unleash your elemental rage. It's fucking gremlins and shit. Critters. Oh, funny little fellas. Inflict wise wounds upon these fools. Chomping his head. Oh, he's got his fist in his eye. That probably don't feel too good, does it? Oh, mad times. Ooh. I want to see a gush of blood pour from between SLAINE's lips. I want to lick it and taste the iron. Ooh, she's sexy, isn't she? Ooh. It became a duel between the sorceress and the High King for Danyu's favours, and in arcane matters, Medb was more than a match for SLAINE. Goddess of all things wild, of storm and blizzard and winter, place your cloak of blackness around my enemies to confuse them. Let all be darkness and desolation. Let foulness and vomit choke the air, and the clouds give of hard rain. Bring death back into fashion. With SLAINE around, it was never out of date. Now do you see what you've done by following the way of the horned god, sire? The goddess is fickle, constantly changing, and now she has betrayed us for the last time. Out of my way, priest! Triple goddess, maiden, woman, and hag, your strong-horned consort, your son and your lover, he who is sometimes laughing, sometimes grim, calls upon you to aid us. I am not afraid of death, because I know not to take life too seriously. It's all a game to you. It's your sport. I'm the laughter in the woods, remember? Wink, wink. But you're having so much fun here. Why end it so soon? Then SLAINE recited mysterious words given to him by the ever-living ones.
Sator arepo tenet opera rotas.
It was a lover's charm that it said no woman can resist. The words curiously arranged, so when written down, they also read from right to left and up or down. They do! It reads backwards. That's neat, isn't it? Ah, genius. I didn't even recognise it. Whatever the spell's meaning, it had the desired effect, for the navel of Danu glowed with power and brought on SLAINE's warp spasm. Etc. And then the entire tribes of the Earth Goddess were filled with her spirit and had a mass warp out. Their hero heat melted all they touched. Their veins throbbed with red rage. They hacked their way through the demons and goblins and fiends, mangling and butchering and slaughtering. And... Slow down, Ukko. I can't get all this down fast enough. And... Goodbye, Ukko. At this point, the saga comes to an abrupt halt. Following Ukko's heart attack, it has been necessary to refer to the Tain and the Book of Invasions to determine the final outcome of the battle between SLAINE and Medb. Judging by the Tain, which includes a comprehensive account of a warping while he was Wonderwrath, SLAINE's cheeks would have peeled back from his jaws until the gullet appeared and his lungs and liver flapped about in his mouth. And rising up from the centre of his skull, a straight spout of black blood as he furiously twisted around in his skin. His warriors would have been in a similar warped state, transformed into monstrous things, with spurts of fire flickering red around them from the malignant gases they gave off. The Tain describes Cuchlaine's warp spasm, but other Celtic heroes went into similar berserker frenzies. King Arthur killed 470 at the Battle of Bath, and Murdoch, King Brian Boru's son, at the Battle of Clontarf, was the last man who killed 100 in one day. Nevertheless, it would seem likely Medb was defeated, although Ukko does not indicate whether she survived the battle or shared the fate of her spectral army. Neither does he make it clear whether she is the sensual Queen Medb of legend who had at least 9 husbands and became ruler of Connacht. But she is at least a kindred spirit of the legendary character, described as being lavish with her physical friendship, who is reputed to be buried in the Hill of Kings in Sligo. As to the tribes of the Earth Goddess, the Annals state they were most notable magicians who did wonderful things by magic and other diabolical arts, wherein they are exceedingly well skilled, and relate how their flying ships crossed the Irish coast concealed in a black cloud which cast a darkness upon the sun for 3 days and nights. It was in a mist of Tuatha Dinanan, the tribes of the goddess Danu, the men of the triple goddess, came through the high air to Ireland. It was from the north they came, from 4 cities, skilled in witchcraft and wizardry, great Phalius and shining Gorius and Phineus and rich Murius. Whoosh. And they bought from those 4 cities their 4 most holy and precious treasures, a stone of virtue from Phalius they called the Lia Fail, the stone of destiny. And from Gorius they bought a sword from whose stroke no one ever escaped or recovered. And from Phineus a spear of victory that was alive and thirsty for slaughter. And from Murius the 4th treasure, the cauldron that no company ever went away from unsatisfied. As suddenly as Ukko's story stopped, it begins again, in the middle of an unlikely conversation between Nest and an ever-living one. Who's talking now? I've just been going through Ukko's final pages. Enthralling reading, Nest, especially the final battle between Slaufeg and SLAINE. Yes, though it is a pity he didn't explain how it was the custom for the old king to be emasculated by the new one. Quite. How is he, by the way? Very poorly. After that last seizure, he'll be dead within the hour. Unless we choose to revive him with that. Unless we chose to revive him with anguinum. That won't be necessary. I can cover the events leading to SLAINE's death. Quite. But to be honest, Nest, I'd rather read Ukko's version. If you say so, my lord. But he's already lived a dozen lifespans. Surely that's enough. Oh, come now, Nest. You've been given eternal life. Why shouldn't Ukko have the same privilege? Brap. Did he fart? What is that? You're not comparing a first-rank druidess with that incontinent old dwarf. Brap. Yeah, he farts. Of course not, but his eyewitness account is important to our understanding of events. In future, I don't think you should interfere with his stories. If you say so, I'll have the anguinum brought to his chamber. I'm sure this is a terrible mistake. The time-worm's egg you ordered, my lady. Or whoever said that. Crack the egg on his head. Pour the yolk in his mouth. Oh, he's young again. Oh, I see, you've made a rapid... Oh, no, that's not him saying that. I don't know what I'm doing. I see you've made a rapid recovery. Yes, dear, I'm feeling quite frisky again. Then perhaps you'd care to resume your duties. Ah, yes, the love charm that brought down Danu. SLAINE's triumph. I'm on the last lap now. I'll leave you to it. Oh, Nest, before you go. Sator arabo tenet opera rotas. Smack. Oh, well, it was worth a try. Can't blame him. That was worth a try. That was a neat little trick, had it worked. Subsequent details of SLAINE's reign are scrappy, possibly reflecting Ukko's disinterest in peace and harmony, and his own preference for hacking and slaying. What descriptions there are of the new kingdom of pleasure are highly critical, such as when SLAINE divided the land up amongst the tribes. You're not serious! You're going to share the land out by drawing the lots?
Of course, it's the only way to make sure it's fair. Oh my god, that hurts my throat so much. And to see that land and crops are set aside for the old and sick.
Why?
Because they die otherwise.
So? If they haven't got any money, if they're not producing anything, they're better off dead. Look, Ukko, the earth is our mother. You can't make money out of your mother. That's barbaric. Well, I did. When I was a lad, I used to invite all the other young dwarves round and...
Enough, dwarf!
God, what was he about to say?
I apologise for the royal parasite. I'm afraid you're wasting your time with him. Actually, I think he's overdue for regular beatings. For his regular beating. Sorry. If you'll excuse me, I'll just take him outside and...
Listen, if everything is shared, if nobody owns anything, then there's nothing to steal. And speaking as a professional thief, I'd like to know where there's the pleasure in that. Not to mention making me redundant. Well, you know what you could do with your kingdom of... It's getting beaten up. His 7-year reign had come to an end at last, and it was time to be reunited with the goddess in death. Covered in greenery and made drunk with mead so he would feel no pain, he was tied in the 5-fold bond, one thong for each tribe. After being beaten till he fainted, he was flayed, blinded, sorely wounded, and impaled with a spear of mistletoe. Cut up into joints and roasted over a sacred fire as druidesses danced and sang. Then distributed to his people. Taste the fruits of the forest, eat of the golden bough, drink of its sap, so you may be vigorous and fruitful. They're eating his penis. His head was cured with smoke and thrown up into the air amongst the tribe, who vied with each other to catch it. Possibly you do things differently in your time. But in our era, this was all quite normal when a ruler's period in office was over.
Nuts of the woodland!
No thanks, I don't want to spoil my dinner.
We gave King Gan a good send-off, dwarf?
Yes, very tasteful. Oh, I thought that was SLAINE then, not King Gan. Jesus. All right.
And in a few years, it'll be my turn. As you know, I've given special instructions for you to be thrown on my funeral pyre, so you can entertain me in the next world as well.
I've been meaning to talk to you about that.
However, we're going to do things a little differently. My body will be cremated so the tribes can smoke my ashes, in order that my divine spirit can waft through their lungs and my very essence enter their brains.
Yes, well, I see there's a crowd of my fans waiting outside my hut, so I'll bid you good night, sire.
One moment, Ukko. They're there on hunger strike because they say you cheated them at Wood and Wisdom. It's one of my new laws when someone has been wronged to fast outside the wrongdoer's door until they're shamed into making redress.
But I don't have any shame. I don't care if you all starve to death.
You don't understand, Ukko. Under my law, you're not allowed to eat either until you agree to repay them or they back down.
Soth! If I'd known, I'd have had a couple... Soth! If I'd known, I'd have had a couple of rashes of gan earlier.
It's a matter of honour, you see.
Bah! Take your money. It's a stupid law anyway.
I find it's one that resolves disputes rather quickly.
Oh, good old King SLAINE and me spitting all over him. And that was how King Gan died. King Sengan was left to wander in Happy Valley, a wood slain set aside for the Moon-Torn. Nothing very interesting happened to King Ganan. As for King Rudridge, you will recall Neve had only agreed to an annual marriage. Now that year was over, she was free to marry SLAINE. But only for a year also. After my childhood as a possession of a king, I don't intend to let anyone own me again.
You won't regret it, Neve. I swear this time I shall be faithful.
I have no fear on that score, SLAINE. You know the old saying, men have goat's eyes when choosing their women, but women have goat's eyes in keeping their husbands to themselves. How true, how true. And what about Rudridge? An amicable separation, was it, dear? Oh, yes. He has found companionship elsewhere. I'm so glad, because divorces can be so messy. But naturally, you'll need someone to handle the legal side to ensure everything is divided properly. And as one dwarf helping another, I'd only be too pleased to offer my services at very reasonable rates.
Silence, dwarf!
Did King Rudridge go off with a barbarian? That's pretty hot. Kind of like that. And so my saga draws to a close, although there is more to tell. How the Kingdom of Pleasure fared, how Medb's grim prophecy came true, the circumstances of SLAINE's death, and my own most fortunate escape, and the insidious new evil he would face. Yes, some would say his greatest adventure was yet to come, and it is I who must tell it, for it is I who can. I, Ukko the dwarf, who was his friend and companion in the dark and terrible days that lay ahead. In a time where there is no time, in a place which is not a place, I write of a once great king, SLAINE Macroth, who ruled an empire that was not an empire, in a past which is not the past or the future, but forever, because legends are eternal. 5 chieftains, who were at the same time brothers, landed in Ireland. They found it uninhabited and divided it in 5 equal proportions amongst themselves. When these 5 brothers, namely Gan, Ganan, Sengan, Rudridge and SLAINE, had divided the island, each portion had a little section meeting at a certain stone in Meath, said to be the navel of Ireland, as it were, placed right in the middle of the land. As time went on and fortune varied, and, as is her wont, turned many things upside down, in a short time... Wait, what? As time went on and fortune varied, as is her wont, turned many things upside down in a short time, SLAINE became the High King of the whole of Ireland. As a result, SLAINE is called the first King of Ireland. Ancient Chronicle. The end. I can't do Irish accents. That's why they're all Scottish. Now my throat hurts, and now I've read SLAINE. About bloody time, innit? Hope you enjoyed this book by Simon somebody and a bunch of other people. SLAINE, the Horned, something.